There is a container sitting in your kitchen right now. You have probably rinsed it out this morning without thinking about it. And in a few minutes you are going to understand why that habit has been costing you a thicker, denser lawn for years. Here is the question almost no one thinks to ask. Why does a lawn that gets fed every single spring still look thin by midsummer? Why does the neighbor 2 doors down, the one who never buys a single bag of fertilizer, have grass that holds its color through August while yours goes pale and sparse by July? And why, if you look at the ingredient list on a $70 bag of lawn fertilizer, does none of it resemble anything found in living soil? I have been growing food in this backyard for over 30 years. Before that, I grew up in rural Nagano, watching my father tend his vegetable rows and fruit trees with methods that never required a single bottle from a store. This is not a trick. It is a correction. The lawn industry has been answering the wrong question, and your lawn has been paying for it. Now, the fertilizer problem, and there is a real irony here, when you apply a synthetic lawn fertilizer, you are feeding the grass blade. The nitrogen pushes the shoot up and makes the color saturate fast. It looks like health. But the grass blade is not where thickness comes from. Thickness comes from the root crown, from the plant sending out lateral shoots called tillers, each one becoming a new blade of grass. Tillers form when the root system is fed by a living soil, not by a chemical delivered to the leaf. The soil beneath most American lawns is biologically depleted. Decades of synthetic feeding have replaced the fungal networks and bacterial colonies that once moved nutrients from particle to particle, with a system of direct chemical injection. The grass becomes dependent. Pull the fertilizer and it collapses. Keep feeding it, and the soil compresses further, the thatch builds, and the roots stay shallow. Every lawn on a synthetic feeding schedule is borrowing against an account it is steadily draining. If this is the kind of thing you wish someone had told you years ago, that is what this channel is. One method, once a week, tested for 30 years before I ever say it out loud. Nothing sold to you. Subscribe if you want the next one. What feeds a living soil is organic carbon, specifically the kind of carbon that arrives in forms that fungal threads and soil bacteria can consume and transform. Your kitchen produces this every single morning. You have been putting it in the trash. Now, what these ingredients actually are, and why they were quietly set aside. Used coffee grounds, unsulfured molasses, crushed eggshell powder. Not one of them alone changes the result. The combination does, and I will explain why each one does a different job in the soil. In the 1970s and 1980s, as chemical fertilizer companies scaled their retail distribution, the older practice of amending soil with fermented and organic household materials was not disproven. It was simply crowded out. There was no profit in telling someone that their breakfast routine could replace a $70 product. The economics made the advice disappear. That is what forbidden means here. Not illegal, simply inconvenient to sell. My father in Nagano never used coffee grounds or molasses. He fed his soil with what his own land gave him, rice hulls and composted vegetable matter, turned back into the ground every season. What he taught me was the principle, not the recipe. Feed the soil, not the plant, and the plant takes care of itself. Over 30 years of growing food in an American backyard with American kitchen scraps, I built this specific version myself. It is his idea applied with what is sitting in my own kitchen. Here is what the science says. Coffee grounds are a carbon source that specific soil fungi can draw on as they consume and transform organic matter in the soil. Those fungi are what deliver phosphorus and trace minerals to the root crown, extending what the roots alone could reach. That is where the tillers form. Unsulfured molasses, and I will say that word again, unsulfured, because the sulfured kind kills the bacteria you are trying to feed. Provides simple sugars that fuel bacterial colonies in the top 2 inches of soil, the zone where tillering decisions are made. Crushed eggshell powder is mostly calcium carbonate, which breaks down slowly in soil into a form the plant can use. That calcium stiffens the cell walls of each new tiller and keeps it upright rather than letting it fold and mat. Tell me, What grass type are you growing this in? Cool season or warm season? Drop that in the comments below. I am curious how many of you are dealing with the same thinning pattern in the same grass type. I read every single one. Now, the method, and this is where most people lose the result entirely, the mistake is applying coffee grounds dry. Spread dry grounds on a lawn and they pack into a crust within 2 or 3 days. That crust is hydrophobic. It repels water. The water beads off the surface instead of moving down to the root zone, and the soil beneath gets drier than it was before you started. You have made the problem worse. Honestly, just skip it. You are making a liquid amendment, not a top dressing. The ratio is this: 1 cup of used coffee grounds, 1 tablespoon of unsulfured molasses diluted in 1 gallon of water, 2 tablespoons of crushed eggshell powder, ground fine enough that you cannot feel individual granules between your fingers. Combine them in a standard watering can. Stir until the molasses has dissolved completely and the liquid has gone from black to a dark brown. The eggshell will not fully dissolve. That is correct. It suspends in the water and delivers with the drench. Apply this over 10 square feet of lawn. Pour it slowly and evenly, the way you would water a seedling bed, not the way you would empty a bucket. The soil should darken and stay visibly moist for several minutes. That is the sign that the liquid has penetrated the thatch layer and reached the root crown zone. Total cost for the materials, if you are buying the molasses fresh, around $12 for enough to treat 500 square feet, but the grounds and eggshell you will be saving from your own kitchen over 2 or 3 weeks. Not buying in one trip. Start a jar for each on the counter today, and by the time you are ready to mix, you will have what you need. Now, 3 safety points, and I will not skip them. Molasses is sticky. Keep it off concrete and wood decking. It stains both surfaces on contact and does not wash out easily once dried. Children or pets use the lawn. Wait until the drench has dried fully before letting them on the grass. That takes about 2 hours in direct sun, 14 days. The bacterial colonies need time to cycle through what you have given them. Overfeeding causes anaerobic pockets, areas of the soil where oxygen is excluded, and those smell of sulfur and set the soil biology back by weeks. Now, the timeline, and I want you to hold to this because if you expect the wrong thing at the wrong time, you will stop too early. Week 1, nothing visible. That is correct. The fungal threads are extending. The bacterial populations are expanding. Nothing you can see from the surface tells you this is working. Week 2 and into week 3, look at the base of existing grass plants at soil level for small new blades pushing out laterally from the crown. That is tillering. Those are the new plants. By week 4 to week 6, you will see the density change in how the lawn responds to mowing. The mower will push back slightly more. The clippings will be fuller. The color will hold longer between feedings. There is one honest limitation, and I would rather you trust me than be impressed by me. This method does not work on centipede grass or fine fescue blends grown in low nutrient conditions. Those grass types are adapted to thin, acidic soil. They do not want a rich bacterial bloom in the root zone. The molasses component overstimulates them, pushes a nitrogen flush, and the grass goes yellow within 10 days. If you are growing centipede or fine fescue, walk away from this one. For every other grass type, tall fescue, Kentucky bluegrass, Bermuda, zoysia, ryegrass, this is the right direction. The grounds, the shell, the spoonful of molasses, together they do what a $70 bag cannot, because they feed the ground instead of the blade. The lawn industry charges you for speed and color. This gives you structure. That is the difference. Next time, I am going to show you how to use the same soil biology principles to fix bare patches permanently without reseeding from scratch. It is the natural next step after this video.